This is You're Probably Right. Entertainment first, everything else is just bonus. Opinions, all ours. Sometimes backed by research, but never the final word. There are always exceptions, so take it with a grain of salt and a slight dusting of chili powder.
Hey y'all, what's up? This is MCM and you're listening to You're Probably Right. This is episode 302. First, I'm going to kick us off a little bit different. Remember, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only, like all of my other episodes. But today, you can actually hear a song called Kept Me Yesterday, first by Lucy. Ready? Here we go.
I learned how to read your silence before I ever spoke my mind. I learned how to stay convenient so you wouldn't leave me behind. I felt it shift before you said it, felt the distance in your touch. I kept telling myself it was nothing while I was giving way too much. I kept waiting for a sign. You kept me hanging in between. You never pushed me away. You just never moved toward me. You kept me close but never chose me. Held my hand but wouldn't stay. I was there whenever you needed, but you never picked me that way. Say you care, but you don't show me. Say my name, then look away. You didn't lose me all at once. You just kept me yesterday. I became good at being easy, good at staying small, good at fixing all your chaos while I leaned against the wall. I was strong for both of us while you figured yourself out. But loving you felt like screaming with no sound coming out. You liked knowing I was there. You liked knowing I wouldn't leave. But wanting someone near you is not the same as choosing me. You kept me close but never chose me. Held my hand but wouldn't stay. I was there whenever you needed, but you never picked me that way. Say you care but you don't show me. Say my name then look away. You didn't lose me all at once. You just kept me yesterday. I'm done calling this patience when it's costing me my peace. I'm done shrinking to survive you. I'm done begging silently. If I'm only loved when I'm useful, then this isn't love at all. I don't need to be remembered. I need to be chosen, or I walk. You kept me close but never chose me. Now I see it clear as day. I was real, I was ready. You were always half away. You don't get to miss me later when I finally pull away. You didn't lose me all at once. You just kept me yesterday. I won't stay where I'm almost loved. I won't beg you to decide. If I'm not the one you choose, then I choose me tonight.
All right, y'all. So that's a long song, but it actually correlates exactly to this episode of You're Probably Right. Now, I might change the title later That's what it should be called. But the edible child, omnipotence, and why adult relationships break the way they do. All right. Don't ask me why my voice sounds like this. I just had coffee and it's 8:15 in the evening. Probably not a smart idea, but for some reason, coffee doesn't keep me up like other people complain. I mean, you just saw the tricks I used to have to do in college to catch up from work that I wasn't doing. Just the beginning of college, actually, I got pretty good at post-secondary education. But at the beginning, I still had all of those bad traits that I had in high school. And it came down to it that I needed to do a project that I kept putting off, I suppose. I assume that's what it was because I don't really remember. Anyways, I had to stay up all night the day before it was supposed to be handed in. And I literally took teaspoon of coffee, whatever coffee was, put it on my tongue, glass of water, drank it down. Did that night probably about 3 or 4 times, maybe 3 times. Yeah, probably 3 or 4 times. I started getting the shakes. It was crazy. It was the only time I had shakes from coffee. Must have been the good stuff back in the day. Anyhow, check it out. There's a reason so many adults enter relationships carrying guilt they can't explain, responsibilities they never agreed to, and fear cannot name. It's not because they're weak. It's not because they're broken. And it's not because they lack insight. It is because many of them were trained very early to exist for someone else. Not in obvious ways, not through overt abuse, but through quiet emotional arrangement that looked like love on the surface and obligation, of course, underneath. Some children are raised to protect, some are raised to be guided, and some are raised to be actually consumed. Not physically, psychologically. Those children grow up learning that closeness comes with a cost, that love requires usefulness, that independence feels like betrayal. And if you are listening to this as an adult who struggles with boundaries, overgiving, people pleasing, or staying too long in relationships that drain you, this episode is about you, but it is not about blaming your parents. It is about finally understanding the blueprint you were handed, whether you asked for it or not. Okay. Every child begins life believing something that is both necessary and temporary, that their needs create reality. They cry, someone appears. They reach someone's hands. They feel overwhelmed, someone regulates the feeling for them. This is not narcissism. This is survival. In early development, omnipotence is not arrogance. It is scaffolding. The child does not yet have the nervous system to tolerate frustration, delay, or separation. So the parents hold the world together for them. But healthy development requires something critical to happen. The parent must slowly learn to step back and let go. The child must learn that discomfort does not destroy them, that frustration does not mean abandonment, that separation does not mean alienation. Or should I say annihilation? Yeah. And the parents must tolerate losing their central role. This is where things break down. See, an edible child emerges when a parent cannot tolerate the loss of omnipotence in their life, when stepping back feels like disappearance, when the child's independence feels like rejection, when boundaries feel personal instead of developmental. So instead of raising a separate human, the parent unconsciously raises a source, almost like a puppet master, a source of meaning, a source of purpose, a source of regulation, a source of validation. The child becomes emotionally useful, not because the parent is evil, but because the parent is unfinished. The child succeeds, so the parent feels good and successful. The child stays close, so the parents feel needed. The child stays small, so the parent stays powerful. The child absorbs anxiety, so the parent does not have to. The child is not loved for who they are becoming. They are valued for what they provide. That is what edible means. Children raised this way do not grow up feeling cherished. They grow up feeling responsible. They learn early to scan emotional environments, to anticipate moods, to regulate others before regulating themselves. Does this sound familiar, guys? They become good, helpful, understanding, patient beyond their years, early usually. And those traits are rewarded until they are not. Because the child internalizes a rule that follows them into adulthood. Connection is not maintained by its self-sacrifice. Love is preserved by usefulness. Leaving, choosing oneself, or disappointing someone feels dangerous and weird, not because of punishment, but because of loss of identity. If I am not needed, they wonder, who am I? When these children become adults, they often look functional from the outside, well put together generally. They work, they care, they show up, they are dependable. But inside relationships, something familiar recreates itself. They overgive early. They tolerate ambiguity longer than they should. They confuse closeness with commitment. They feel safest when they are useful. They often choose partners who need regulating, saving, or stabilizing, not consciously, nervously, because chaos feels familiar and usefulness feels like love. They struggle with partners who are secure because secure partners don't need them in the same way, and being wanted without being required feels foreign to them. This is where the cost becomes generational. Adults raised as edible children often become parents without realizing they are carrying unfinished business. They may over-involve, over-sacrifice, over-identify. They say things like, I gave everything for you. I sacrificed my life for you. And they mean it. But the sentence reveals the pattern. It tells you the child is still food. In relationships, this dynamic destroys attraction. In parenting, it destroys separation. In education, it destroys curiosity. And honestly, geez, unless it is named, it just keeps repeating. If you're listening and feeling uncomfortable, that is not a sign that something's wrong, right? is a sign that something familiar has been named. This episode is not here to shame parents or diagnose partners or rewrite history. It is here to give language to patterns that quietly shape how adults love, attach, choose partners, raise children, and lose themselves in the process. How this dynamic shows up in long-term adult relationships. Here is where people start getting confused, because the adult version of the edible children or edible child often looks like the good partner. Yeah, it looks good because they're attentive, they're consistent, they are emotionally available, they are reliable, they can hold down a conversation, and they can listen. They remember details, they anticipate needs, they step in early. And in the beginning, this feels amazing to the other person until it doesn't. Because attraction is not built on emotional labor, it is built on tension, choice, polarity, direction. And when one person becomes responsible for the emotional climate of the whole relationship by themselves, something subtly shifts and things are off. Desire starts to feel managed, connection starts to feel maintained rather than chosen, and intimacy begins to feel expected instead of alive. This is when people start saying things they don't fully understand themselves. As far as, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. I do not know what is missing. You are perfect, but something feels off. What feels off is that the relationship no longer contains two separate nervous systems. It contains one regulator and one that is being regulated. This part nobody wants to hear, especially people who pride themselves on being loving. But attraction does not grow when one person is carrying the emotional weight of two adults. Desire needs uncertainty, not chaos, but autonomy. When someone is always available, always understanding, always absorbing, always adjusting, the relationship loses its edge. Not because kindness is unattractive, but because self-abandonment is. The edible child turned adult does not ask, "Do you choose me?" They ask, "How do I stay necessary?" And necessity kills desire over time because the other person stops feeling chosen and starts feeling managed, chased. They are no longer meeting a separate adult. They are interacting with a system designed to keep them comfortable. Comfort is not intimacy. It is sedation. And the pattern becomes unmistakable. One partner becomes anxious when the other pulls away. The other becomes irritated by closeness. The one partner tries harder. The other needs more space. The one partner over-explains. The other withdraws. TMI. And suddenly the relationship feels familiar in a way neither person understands because it is not a romantic bond anymore. It is a parent loop. The edible child adult becomes the emotional caretaker. The other partner becomes the emotional authority. Approval starts replacing desire. Fear of loss replaces attraction. And the relationship quietly reorganizes itself around regulation instead of connection. Nobody planned this though, but both nervous systems recognize it. How this shows up in people trying to marry or have children. This is where the stakes actually rise because unresolved edible child dynamics do not disappear with commitment. They intensify. The person trained to be consumed often believes marriage will finally make them safe. finally chosen, finally secure, finally anchored. But marriage does not heal this pattern. It exposes it because long-term relationships require differentiation. It requires two adults who can tolerate discomfort, separation, and disagreement without collapsing into guilt or withdrawal. The edible child adult often struggles here. They feel responsible for everyone. They feel guilt. They feel guilty choosing themselves for things at times. They struggle with resentment. They are ashamed to admit it. And their partner often feels pressure they cannot name. Pressure to stay, pressure to need, pressure to not disrupt the system. This is how marriages drift into quiet emotional distance and sibling marriages, or whatever you want to call it, roommates. Not through betrayal, but through exhaustion. That's right, exhaustion. That's why many people in this dynamic, when they do finally separate, a lot of the time both feel relief. How this shows up in classrooms and education. If you work with children, you see this early. Children who perform for approval instead of curiosity, children who panic at mistakes, children who ask if they are in trouble when nothing is wrong. These are not bad kids. They are kids who learn that love follows performance, that attention follows compliance, that staying good keeps adults regulated. And those children often become adults who cannot tolerate disappointment or disappointing anyone, even at the cost of themselves. The classroom is often the first place this pattern cracks because curiosity requires safety without consumption, and edible children rarely get that. How do you break it? Well, this is the most important part, I guess, because the goal is not to stop caring. The goal is to stop being consumed. Boundaries. Breaking this pattern does not mean becoming detached, selfish, rigid. It means learning to tolerate something new. Discomfort without collapse, distance without panic, and choice without guilt. It means letting people experience the consequences of their own emotions. It means allowing silence without rushing to fix it and to say something. It means choosing yourself without narrating or justifying the choice. And most importantly, it means accepting the truth. If someone only feels connected to you when you are useful, they are not attached to you. They are attached to what you provide. That is not love. That is consumption. Therefore, I want to leave you with this. If you were raised to be emotionally edible, your job is not to harden. It is to separate, to learn where you end and others begin. You were not born to regulate everyone around you. You don't have to fix everything and everyone and do everything and overdo and overgive and oversay and overexplain. You were born to become yourself, and that will feel selfish at first because your nervous system learned that separation equals danger, but it doesn't. It equals adulthood. If this episode stirred something in you, don't rush to fix it though. Sit with it. Notice where you overfunction. Notice where you feel guilty choosing yourself. Notice where your closeness only feels safe when you are needed. That awareness is the beginning of that freedom. You do not need to confront anybody. You do not need to rewrite. I'm like a tongue twister. You do not need to rewrite your childhood. You do not need to cut people off dramatically. No, none of that stuff. Let me say that again. You do not need to confront anyone. You do not need to rewrite your childhood. You do not need to cut people off dramatically. You need to stop feeding the system that consumes you. Slowly, quietly, consistently. Because when you stop being edible, something powerful happens. The relationship that relies on your self-abandonment falls away. And the ones that remain finally meet you as a whole person. Not food, not function, and not supply, but a separate human being who is chosen and not kept. What a beautiful place that could be, right? Anyway, y'all, if this landed, it's because your body already knows. As they say, I mean, I'm pretty sure you're sitting here, if this had anything to do with your life, you recognized a whole bunch of patterns and things, and a lot of familiar patterns and things. Anyhow, y'all, this is another episode of You're Probably Right. This is MCM signing off. Take care. Until next time. Peace out.
Hey, come check out You're Probably Right podcast. Society is getting more unpredictable every day, but at the same time, predictable in its unpredictability. Say that 4 times real fast. Come with me as I attempt to find clarity in all the fog while staying way outside the box and kicking the box way down the road with my size 12 ducks. I use the Bible, experience, education, fortune, misfortune, life's lessons, life's mistakes to sort through all the mess. I talk about news, God, God, self-help, sports, sickness, health, music, parenting, love, humbleness, hurt, pain, joy, and all the things that might make you say, I never thought of it that way. Hopefully, anyway. Also, I take a stab at answering tough and not so tough questions, and all the while understand that, listen, sometimes you end up in the hot seat and there's no thermostat. Well, that's how it is here. And because there's no topic, very few topics off the table, Torontonians will understand that Doug Ford reference there. Hopefully the podcast will be helpful and uplifting. And hey, maybe you'll find your own private Idaho here somewhere. Hope to see you soon.
Getting late and I'm still wide awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the space you take. One day you're here, next day you're gone, and I'm just trying to understand where we went wrong. You only love me in the middle of the night. Then you fade away with the morning light. I need to know, is this for real? Tell me how you truly feel. Oh, yeah. I give my all, you give me half your heart. You say the words, but we just stay so far apart. These mixed signals are tearing me down, lost in the silence when you're not around. Tell me how you feel. How you really feel. Is any of this real? just tell me, yeah. Tell me, baby. Oh. You only love me in the middle of the night. Then you fade away with the morning light. I need to know, is this for real? Tell me how you truly feel. Oh, yeah.